So the All Blacks have just announced their lineup for the second test match up against the French. Now, there were always going to be a couple of changes that was due to the injury of Scott Barrett as well as Sevu Reece, but little did people know those would be the only changes in the starting lineup. For this All Black side, we'll be looking through it in this video. There is a debutant off the bench though by the name of Timothy Tavatavanawa, which I'm sure a lot of people will be happy about as well. But jumping straight into it, Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor and Fletcher Null, they will be the front row, so no changes from what we saw up against France. Now in the first test match, we didn't see a huge amount of scrums in the All Blacks' favour, so never really getting to fully test out that front row. But Cody Taylor, he had a strong game. The lineouts were extremely accurate for New Zealand in test match 1, so Scott Robertson went unchanged, does keep it the same for number 2. But in the locking duo with no Scott Barrett at 4, it does bring in Patrick Tuipulotu to start in the locking duo alongside Fabian Holland, who had a very strong debut last week, made plenty of tackles, won his lineouts when needed. And I do think he's got a massive amount of potential. So partnering with Tuipulotu could be a handy enough duo for the All Blacks here. In the loose forward trio, this is unchanged from what we did see last week. Tupavai stays in the number 6 jersey for his first game at blindside in quite some time. He did do everything that he needed to. He won his line-out ball. He managed to score himself a try too. So they did decide to keep him there even with that injury happening. For the skipper, number 7, speaking of skippers, Ardie Savia, he will be captain in the side in Wellington with number 8 being Christian Leo Willie. So he got his debut last week. They have decided to stick Savia in that 7 jersey for 2 weeks in a row, which is something we didn't really see last year. So a big chance for him to be able to secure that jersey as his own. Same can be said about Leo Willie in that number 8 kit as well. In the 19 combination, no changes from last week. Cam Roigard plays at 9 with Beauden Barrett as the 10. An extremely dangerous ball running game for those two. They've got plenty of pace on the outside to use for this contest as well. And it does start with Beauden's brother, Geordie Barrett, in that number 12 jersey. He was one of the standouts in the backline up against France in match number 1. And on the outside, they have gone with Billy Proctor. So no switches in that department. To be honest, that 13 jersey, with the exception of Rieko Ioane, there probably wasn't too many players who they could put there. All of those players like a Quinn Tupaia, like a Timothy Tavatavanawa, playing less than 10% of their games throughout their whole career in that outside centre role. Amoni Narawa was actually the man with the most caps at 13, but he does not feature. And at this All Blacks lineup, Caleb Clark is in the number 11 jersey this week. That is to replace Rieko Ioane, who moves to the right, and that is to replace Sevu Reece, who took the head knock in test match number 1. So there were a lot of question marks around who they would actually put on that right wing side, as Caleb Clark was expected to make his return. I saw Will Jordan's name thrown in there. We saw Amoni Narawa. Not many people were straight switching Rieko Ioane from the left to the right. That is what the ABs have decided to do. Just the one change on the bench compared to last week, but starting with the front row, it is identical. Samisoni Taukei'aho at number 16, Ollie Norris 17, and Pasilio Tosi as the number 18. This 3 seemed to do pretty decently up against France. With the exception of that Tosi obstruction, overall, it does seem like a young, dangerous front row replacement for the All Blacks in the future. Samapeni Finau, he will be in the number 19 jersey, so similar to last week, we may see someone else transition into lock, or perhaps even Samapeni Finau can slot in to fill that role. Number 20, Duplessis Karefi, he had his debut last week. He now gets a second opportunity, but this time it is in Wellington. Number 21, Cortez Ratama. Number 22, the debutant of this match, Timothy Tavatavanawa. He gets plenty of turnovers throughout Super Rugby Pacific for the Highlanders. Defenders beaten, he had over 70 throughout the season too, so he is certainly a man to keep an eye on. I'm just curious to know where they're going to slot him into that back line, whether or not that number 12 is where they're looking at, or maybe out on the wing in this contest instead. And number 23, a man who pretty much started the last contest. He came on the field after 1 minute. Damian McKenzie tearing it up in the first match, and he will certainly be excited to get back out there up against this French side. But that is the All Blacks starting lineup and reserves. Like I mentioned, a few changes were expected due to the injuries, but overall, not a huge amount of switches taking place for this All Black side. So obviously the review throughout the week from Scott Robertson was, it was almost right from the All Blacks. 3 disallowed tries in that first contest. Maybe you could argue the clinicalness wasn't quite there, but this second test match, I have a little bit of a feeling that even though it is in Wellington, and of course New Zealand haven't got the greatest record there as of late, the side will really come out firing, try and make a statement in this contest. But we will be doing the live commentary on the channel, so of course be sure to check that out. Let me know what you think of this side in the comments down below. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all for the next one.